with the Los Angeles Times. He was here as a columnist for a whole group of years. Left, went to the LA Times. He was one of their lead sports columnists for a long time, and he's passed. Very controversial, very opinionated, very off the center. TJ Simers has passed away at the age of 73, brain tumor. He made a career. He thought his role as a columnist was to mock you, mock everybody. Just throw anything on the wall and see if you responded to what TJ had to say.
Sounds like you.
Thank you. No, I'm not a curmudgeon, but that's the way he operated. But it was funny because I think those of us in the media kind of respected the style because it was so different. And it was must-read columns in both the papers because then we had to see what happens after he wrote about whomever and the way he felt about that. Irreverent was thy name. That was his style. The most amazing aspect at the end of his career, he sued and beat the LA Times $7 million for age discrimination.
Really?
He was having health problems. They moved him off the beat, tried to reassign him. He said, you can't do that. I said, yes, we can. Sued and won $7 million. They appealed. They won the appeal. He went back in a second time and sued him, and he won $15 million the second time.
Good for him.
Yeah, the guys in the media were going, way to go.
Yeah.
Anything against management, way to go. But I'll tell you what, and I crossed paths with him a long time ago. I had a long relationship with him, some days better than others. He was the first one that went after the Spanoses. Nobody had done that in his community. He called them the Spanos goofs. He made fun of Dean being chauffeured around with a driver in his Bentley. And TJ kept saying, I'm not parking Dean Spanos's parking space right out front of the complex, the fortress, as I called it, because they locked the media out of it. He just banged on the Chargers. Here's the greatest TJ Charger story I can tell you, and there were a lot of them. Back in the early years when I was here as voice of the Chargers, we had a coach, Dan Henning.
Oh, yeah.
And this is when we all had pretty good relationships, coaching staff, PR staff, media, before we all became the enemy. Well, Henning decided we're going to close workouts certain days a week, no media access. So the Chargers at Qualcomm Stadium, their practice field was way at the end of the parking lot by the highway. And it was all kinds of construction going on. So the media was really peeved about the fact we don't get access. So we have to wait for 3 hours, and then we have limited number of people. It was the beginning of the changing of the relationships for all NFL teams. So TJ wrote about it. And all around the practice field, there was all these big piles of dirt because there was all parking lot construction going on. So one day, I think it was a Thursday, maybe it was a Friday, and we'd been locked out, as we always were on Thursdays and Fridays. TJ and the media, he said, come, we're going to stand on the dirt pile and we'll watch practice from a distance with binoculars. He got an exotic dancer.
You're kidding me.
Oh, I'm not making this stuff up. And we had, quote, an exotic dancer, AKA stripper, on the pile of dirt doing this while the guys were practicing.
Yeah.
So then we became a distraction to Dan Henning's team because he didn't want us on the sidelines as a distraction. And, you know, my response, and I like Dan Henning, my response is, what the hell, we're going to report your practice in 3 and out? Your team is 4 and 12. So anyhow, so TJ got an exotic dancer, AKA stripper, to stand on the pile of dirt right by the gate as the Charger players were practicing. It was utterly hilarious. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, he went after everybody. TJ went after his daughter's new husband. He's got this daughter's...
In one of his columns?
Yeah. Really great. His daughter's a really special girl. Very successful in a career. Not in journalism. It's something like public relations. Anyhow, so she marries this guy, which is fine. And of course, TJ is paying for the wedding and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And TJ finds out the incoming son-in-law, college degree and all, was bagging groceries. That's what he was doing with his career. So he started to refer to the son-in-law as the grocery bagger. And he'd write columns about the grocery bagger. Can't believe the Chargers lost to the Raiders. He went on.
That's harsh.
TJ went after Kobe Bryant. If you recall, a young Kobe had married, got involved in a sexual assault allegation, Colorado.
Yeah.
To solve it, He bought his wife, Vanessa, a $4 million rock ring.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm. TJ said, Kobe, expensive weekend, eh? He's also the one that told Shaq, you ought to mix in a salad once in a while. He got into it with Bobby Ross. It was really funny because Bobby Ross was no nonsense, no BS. And he wrote, Ross's first year was really rugged. He inherited a bad team under Bobby Beathard. They were 0-4 out of the gate, and they were just really scuffling. They had refugees at quarterback, etc. And he said, Boss Ross, you're 0-4. I think you should go back to Bill and Mary, William and Mary, where Bobby first broke into coaching.
Bill and Mary.
Ross blew his lid. And TJ was also one of the first reporters back in the day around the horn on ESPN.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he was positioned with guys from Boston, Miami, etc. He was the LA rep and all that. And he just woke up one day and said, why the hell are we wasting time doing this, talking about this? And they booted him off the TV show. I got along with well, not all the time. You know, when Jim Rome called me, instead of Hacksaw, he started calling me Butter Knife. I kind of responded to that. I said, well, I think that's pretty funny. Oh, by the way, Romy, the next press conference you go to and ask a tough question with the first press conference you've ever gone to and asked a tough question. I just kind of zinged them good.
Good.
And of course, then we had the Jim Everett issue with Jim Rome. And I told TJ, you know, we were all standing in the newsroom at the old 690 when that happened. And I knew something was going to happen because Romy had just been pushing, calling him Chrissy Everett. And I said, when Everett stood up and Rome went backwards and nearly fell off the stage, a lot of guys at 690 were cheering because they thought Rome got what Rome deserved. I gave him the title, TJ, page 2. I said, your stuff's not good enough to be on page 1 of the LA Times anymore, huh? Page 2 columnist, TJ Simers. By the way, be careful because the next one will be on the obituary page.
Ooh.
And then when you call him, I had him on and I had a good relationship with him. And he wouldn't say hello. Wouldn't ask, how are you? He'd just pick up the phone. TJ here. He went on and on and on. And then I did ask him one time in a heated moment, and I said it on the air, is it true that the initials TJ stand for total jerk? I didn't think that was very funny, but he was a man cut from a different cloth. He did it his way, had a real tough end to his life. He had a brain tumor and they fought like hell for a better part of a year. He'd been in hospice for a long period of time. So like him or dislike him, give him credit for who he was and what he thought the role should be. TJ Simers passes away at the age of 73. Quick